Hi, good morning everyone. I hope you're all well and thank you very much for joining today's webinar, which is Xero versus Sage Business Cloud, or Sage Business Cloud Accounting, as I should say. The main purpose of today is to give a brief demo of both products and highlight the key comparisons between each product, which is helpful in ascertaining which product is best for you. And I'll also pick up on any questions that come through as well. So if you do have any questions, then please do pop them into the Q&A option that you have got you should see at the bottom of your screen. Now you are all in listen only mode today. If there are any disturbances in relation to the sound or the quality of what you can see on screen, then please do let me know. And you can let me know using the chat feature, which again you can find at the bottom of your screen. The aim today is that I will keep you for roughly 30 to 40 minutes and I am recording the session today, so that will be circulated through our YouTube channel if ever you did actually want to refer back to that or indeed share that with anyone in your business. So before I do just dive into each product, I just want to start by telling you a little bit about myself. So of course my name's Sarah and I have been with the firm for 23 years this year, having started in 1998 initially, I must admit, as the office junior before undertaking my AAT and my subsequent professional exams. I did the ACCA, so I'm ACCA qualified. And throughout my time at Jackson Steve, I think for most of that actually, I was one of our general practice managers. So I looked after a portfolio of clients ranging in size and industry. So we had sole traders, partnerships, limited companies, and I suppose limited companies in size up to 6.5 million, which at the time was the audit threshold. And like I say, from a variety of industries too. So I have looked after professional practices, rental, property management businesses, engineering companies such as civil engineers, property development companies, so quite a range of different business types. And we delivered, or my team delivered, the annual accounting compliance, personal tax compliance, corporate tax compliance, bookkeeping and VAT, and also management accounting and advisory as well, liaising with our tax team to ensure that everything is set up in the right manner and in the most efficient manner too. Now, since 2018, we certainly have seen a shift in sort of the services that we offer to clients, really kind of stemming from technology and how that has actually impacted our clients and also has an impact on us. So since 2018, I have moved over to our digital services team, and I now actually oversee our team of individuals who help clients, first of all, select the right accounting software for them, help implement that software, including delivering training, and I also actually help our teams internally in terms of our own learning that we have to undertake in each of our various softwares. I am very, very keen on all things digital, as anyone who has met me will know. I just find it all incredibly interesting. So I'm now just going to dive into the product, and first of all I am going to start with Xero. So if you just give me a second and I will dive into that. Okay, so hopefully you can actually now see Xero on your screen. Like I said, if there are any disturbances as I am talking throughout, please do just let me know via the chat option. And like I say, I'm actually going to kick off with Xero. So just first of all, in terms of a little bit of history, Xero actually started its life in New Zealand. So obviously it's travelled, sort of travelled across the globe to reach us, and it started its life back in 2006. So in some respects, it's actually it's been around for quite a while now. So it started its life, and it was developed by I suppose not necessarily an accountant, which I think is actually one of the key differences between the two. It was actually developed from a user's perspective as opposed to as opposed to from the other side, from an accountant's perspective. And that's why when you do first look at Xero, it is quite a little bit different, or it looks certainly a little bit different. So it came into the UK, I would say, around about 2011, and has continued to grow, certainly in terms of numbers. So it was probably one of the first cloud accounting packages ultimately that came over into the UK, and has then continued to develop. Okay. Now, when we actually first navigate into Xero, you can actually see that we land on a business dashboard. And I'm using demo data for the purpose of today. And you can see on this business dashboard that we can see our bank accounts. We can see any transactions that need to be reconciled, which I'm going to come on to. We can quickly see at a glance what money is actually due to us, and also what bills we need to pay as well. And we can also see, if we just move up a little bit, we can also see an accounts watch list. So if there's any accounts that we want to keep an eye on, if we want to monitor a sort of expenditure in certain areas, then we can actually add them onto this accounts watch list. So we can certainly sort of keep an eye on what's going on in our business. And we also do have our cash summary as well. So we can actually see the patterns in relation to cash for the previous 6 months. Okay, and starting off then, just navigating over, we actually then, if I come into invoices, you can see here that we actually then have access to a list of all the invoices that have been raised within this demo company. And of course, what we can do is we can actually create and send invoices. So I'm just going to quickly create an invoice on here, and you'll see what does happen when I select one of my customers. We do get a quick access to actually see, first of all, if there's any amounts outstanding in relation to this customer, which may then, which we may ultimately need to chase up. And what we can do within the settings in the background, we can also select to stop. My number lock is come on. We can also actually then select to stop any invoices. So say if an account has any overdue invoices, we can actually restrict the ability to be able to raise and send invoices on that until those overdue debts have been paid. Now I'm quickly going to just type in some example numbers. So you can see here that we, in our item column, we are able to set up certain items in the background. So if you have the same items that you do sell on an ongoing basis, then you do have the option to set those up in there to save you having to type a description in, and you can have your description to be as much or as little as you like. We have our account codes, which are based on the default chart of account, which of course can be edited in the background. I don't necessarily intend to go into the chart of account today because the purpose of today is really just the key features and a high level demo. And then we have also the VAT rates as well. So what we can do, if I just click on the drop down arrow, you can see that we do have all the standard VAT rates. So VAT on income, and we also have on the expense side the VAT on expenses. And if we do actually deal with the domestic reverse charge, then we do also have tax rates for that too. And in this region column, we do actually also have the option to set up what we call tracking categories. So tracking categories are set up in this demo data as region, but that may not be region for your business. That could, by way of an example, be departments. It could be the accounting department, it could be the tax department, or it could be the sales department, the finance department, marketing. So you can really actually tailor your Xero to actually suit your business. Okay, so I'm just going to prove that. And then what you can see now, first of all, if I select to preview that invoice, you can actually see my invoice. First of all, how that will look to somebody who receives that online. And then also we do have the option to see what that might look like for anyone who's going to receive that by email too. And if I just actually quickly run through this email template, this is quite editable for you. So you would include your logo on that. You can select what information it is that you want to see. And also what you can do is actually include in here payment links as well. So when you're emailing that to your customer, you can also include a Pay Now button, which I think is statistically proven to actually speed up payments. And also you can actually edit the details at the bottom, like I say, to actually suit your business. So if you want to provide your bank details in there, then of course you can do. And also what I do have the option is to directly email that through to a customer. So I'm just going to type my own details in there. So the information that's actually held in the background in relation to each customer will automatically populate. And the email template will automatically populate for you as well. And again, this email template can be edited to actually suit your language. Sometimes what's provided in terms of templates don't necessarily suit your style of writing or your branding. So those can actually be, like I say, edited. And what we can do is we can choose to actually send a copy to ourselves, and we can also actually choose to add a PDF attachment as well. We do tend to advise against that, and just to caveat that, we do tend to advise against that quite simply because if you do send an invoice link, you are able to see if your customer has actually opened that invoice. And what you can also do though is actually attach any files as attachments. So if you had any underlying timesheets, say that you wanted to send along with your invoice, then you can do so as well by including those files as attachments. And I'm just going to send that through to myself. And just navigating up to here, I did mention about attachments. If I actually select on this option here, you can add attachments directly from your file library, which is a storage area that's available directly within Xero, or from any other areas on your system that you might save those. And if I just navigate down to the bottom, then what you can actually see in here, and that ping is my email invoice coming through, what you can actually see on here is the audit trail as to what has happened with that invoice. So if I was to actually open that invoice now, I'm not going to because obviously I'm demoing this at the moment, but if I was to open that invoice now, I would actually see an extra line on here to say that I'd actually opened that invoice. And also what we can do is if we do actually have any credit control procedures in place and we do actually chase invoices say on a monthly basis, then we can actually add any notes on here of any discussions that we have actually had. And if the client has actually told us or our customers told us that they're going to make payment on a date that is different to our due date, then we can also update that information here. I'll show you where that becomes relevant a little bit later on. Okay, so navigating back into invoices, the main thing I was wanting to show you there was the ease of sending those invoices out by direct email. We do also have the option to actually turn on invoice reminders. Now, invoice reminders will actually then be sent at specific points in time. So if I just actually navigate into here, you can see that 7 days either after or indeed even before, because we can actually set these timescales to suit us, we can actually tell Xero to automatically send an invoice reminder for any invoices that have not been paid at that point. So again, that's just quite a nice thing to have because it will actually sort of start to, to hopefully speed up payment, especially where you have customers that will only pay you once they've been reminded. I do believe that does exist. Okay, so we can actually see just quite quickly within here which invoices are actually due to be paid to us. And if we actually did want to search back on any invoices, then we can actually use the search option to actually find any invoices, and we can search either on customer, we can search on invoice number, and we can also search on amount. So say a customer did actually phone up with any queries, we can quite quickly sort of navigate into here and identify that invoice. Okay. What we also do have the option of is to actually raise quotes. So if you're a business that does raise quotes prior to issuing an invoice or starting any work, then again we do have the option to actually raise quotes, and that does work in a very similar manner. You'll see that the screen is very, very similar, and again we do have set templates that we can set up, first of all to match your quoting documentation and also to actually edit and tailor, excuse me, I'm a bit croaky, excuse me, to edit or tailor the email template that gets sent through to. So if I just quickly, and like I say, I'm not necessarily going to spend too much time on this because the purpose is to quickly show this to you. We can actually, like I said, we can actually send that quote directly to the customer. And what the customer does have in this scenario is also electronic. When the customer actually receives that quote, we'll have electronic options either on the phone or computer, sort of via their email, to either accept or decline that proposal. And you do also have the option to either accept or decline directly within here as well. And if you are actually using quotes, you do actually also have the option to create an invoice directly from that quote, which will bring through all the information directly that's on that quote. So you don't have to re-enter, the same information. You'll see that that draft invoice has already been created from there. And you can also see, just going back into quotes option, how many quotes you've actually sent, how many have been declined, which is quite important, I suppose, to know, the reasons why, especially if you want to dive into the reasons why, I should say, and also which quotes have been accepted. Okay, so I'm now quickly going to navigate over into the bill section. Like I say, I'm just going over the key points in each area. But of course, if you do have any questions, then please do feel free to note them into the Q&A. So the bill section then does work in a very, very similar way to what we have actually seen on the invoicing side. And we have three options here. First of all, we can actually enter the bill manually. Not necessarily a process that I do recommend, by the way, if I'm being brutally honest, because I am a strong, firm believer that purchase invoice automation does actually streamline the process a lot more. However, for the purpose of the example, and again, I suppose just to show you what's achievable, and just show the VAT accounts, we can, like I say, we can enter that information directly onto here. We can select the appropriate tax rates. You can see now the tax rates that apply to expenses. And of course, we can allocate that to a region if we wanted to. And a little bit further down, which is useful for businesses who do recharge expenses onto customers, what we also have the option to do is to assign any costs to certain customers as well, which means that the next time I raise a draft invoice for Boom FM in this case, these items will actually automatically be allocated on that next sales invoice that's raised. So it's a good way to make sure that you're actually recharging on any expenses that need to be recharged on. And of course, what we can do here is we can actually then attach a copy of the invoice, so a copy of this invoice that's come through, either directly from the file library or upload that from any other place that's stored on your system. And what you can do, if you have received your invoice by email, you can either drop and drag that invoice directly from your email into here, or you can actually forward that onto a dedicated email address which is contained within your file library. So each Xero account, just to pick up on that point, each Xero account does have a dedicated email address which you can forward information to, such as invoices, such as bank statements. If you want to actually store, if you do receive, electronic bank statements and you want to store them in a central place, and you can store them directly in Xero, such as loan agreements, such as hire purchase agreements. And the beauty of doing that is, of course, that your accountant, any other person in that business that needs to have access to that information can have access to that information too. Now, like I say, actually through the file library as well, I mentioned there was two other ways to actually upload information. One of those is actually by sending information directly into the file library, from which we can create information the bill postings directly. Or another way is to actually use your mobile app to take a photo of any purchase invoices and expenses, again using that file library and of course a mobile app. Now, I did mention that I am actually a great believer in automation, and that applies to whether we're looking at Xero or Sage Business Cloud. So my preference is to actually use a purchase invoice automation tool, specifically one called Dex Prepare. Now, the purpose of today isn't necessarily to go into that. It's more so just to highlight the features of this cloud accounting software. But we will have further demos, or we do have further videos available in relation to Dex Prepare should anyone want to see those. Okay, so again, we do have the option to enter the bills, and we also do have an option to raise purchase orders. So if we are a business that does use purchase ordering, then we can actually create those purchase orders directly in here as well. and email those over to our supplier, like we've seen on the sales side, and we can also then convert that purchase order into a bill if indeed we wanted to. So we only have that one point of entry. And what you will notice when you're looking specifically in Xero is that the bills to pay section is very much the same as the invoicing section, just so as to save any, just to make that user experience quite straightforward and easy. And you will see in each section that you do also have a purchase overview as well. So just to navigate in here, you can actually see how many purchase orders that you have actually got sent. You can actually see when any bills are actually due for payment, and you can actually then have hyperlinks into actually seeing that list of bills and indeed any that are overdue. And then the same applies in relation to the sales overview too. Finally, navigating down, we do also have the option to issue a mobile app to any employees, so they can actually use the expense module in here. And like I said, on the sales invoices, we can list our products and services in here so that we can actually create our invoices a little bit quicker and have set narrative on those. Okay, so moving on, I'm going to navigate into the bank section, and I think direct bank feeds, it's fair to say, are one of the key features that really have become prominent in cloud accounting software. Well, I suppose indeed in any accounting software in recent years. Now, a direct bank feed connects directly up to your bank account using your online banking credentials. And it's just important to note here that Xero, Sage Business Cloud, all the cloud accounting providers do have bank level security within them. So there's no need to really be sort of cautious of doing that. Like I said, the security is in place, and certainly in Xero we do have two-step authentication too, which gives you an extra layer of security in the same way that banks have. And also there is a need to refresh this feed every 90 days, which was a requirement of open banking. So every cloud accounting software we do have to do that with. So once you do have a bank feed set up, all the transactions download into Xero on an ongoing basis. And you can actually see quite easily, so on the dashboard, and you can see here, first of all, any transactions that have actually been downloaded into this accounting software. So if we select on the reconcile items, like I say, these are items that have actually been downloaded from the online banking. And Xero and Sage Business Cloud, when we do navigate into there, do have the same features in that we, first of all, Xero runs a match. So if there's an invoice that's actually been raised on the sales ledger, or has actually been entered in terms, onto the purchase ledger, then it will actually automatically match that transaction directly to that invoice. And it will do that using the invoice reference, the date, and also the narrative and the detail. So you can actually see in this case, whereas previously on other, in traditional times, we would actually then have to scroll through and find that invoice. What we can do is we can directly press OK to accept that match. So the reconciliation process becomes quite easy. Another feature that does happen, or another activity that does happen in terms of the bank reconciliation, is what's called auto suggest, where Xero will actually, and this is specific to Xero, where Xero will actually suggest entries based on entries that have happened in the past. So previously, if I posted Ridgeway Banking Corporation fee to bank fees, it's actually already suggesting that I do the same with that, again, which I can accept. So it's saving me the need to actually enter certain items in there. And also what we can do, which is what's happening here, is actually set up a bank rule as well. So when we're using bank rules, we can say whenever you see 711 in this example, then code this item directly in accordance with this 711 rule. And we can have as many rules set up as we want to have, because the aim is really not to have any transactions like see here that will actually need to either be created or indirectly matched. Now we do have the option in saying that, say for example you had a receipt of money like we have here that might actually relate to a few different invoices. We do actually have the option to actually select the match and easily see the list of outstanding payments and match those by selecting them. And if indeed what we actually do see here is a part payment, then what we can do is also allocate that as well. And you'll see that now we can actually press accept on that. So the reconciliation process, when we are actually using bank feeds and indeed cloud accounting software, it does actually become quite a nice experience, and again is something that can be done on a day-to-day basis, as opposed to having to wait until maybe the end of the month until we've received a bank statement to actually enter all those transactions. Okay, and just navigating along, what we can actually now see in here is we do actually also have the option to activate payroll. So we can actually use Xero payroll in here, and when using Xero payroll, each employee will have a mobile app or access to a mobile app where they can view, if that's odd, where they can view their pay slips online, where they can view the pay slips online, where they can actually request holidays that can also be approved online. And if you're a timesheet based business, so if you pay your employees based on the hours that they've worked, then they can actually submit timesheets as well, which will automatically then calculate the amount of pay for that individual. And also what we do have is also the ability to actually manage our projects directly through Xero as well. And when we are actually using projects, I'll just navigate into this. What we can actually do is see any profits or losses on each specific job that each specific project we may have ongoing, and actually see how many invoices we have yet to raise, how many costs have been allocated to that specific job, and we can really actually start to understand, like I say, the profitability in terms of each project. Okay, so before I finally navigate into Sage Business Cloud, what I do just want to come back and show you two further features, being the short-term cash flow feature and business snapshot. I'm going to navigate into business snapshot first of all, which, as you can see, is providing you with some quite useful information, certainly for business owners, in terms of what your profitability is, so your profit and loss for the month. And what we can do is we can have that set to year to date, month, quarter, or financial year. What our income is, and I do think that actually seeing information in terms of graphs is certainly helpful. I think it's helpful to spot any trends, and it's helpful to just actually have that overview, that headline view of your income and expenses for a period of time. And navigating down into here, what you can see is your top accounts, so the top places that you're spending money, your top expenses, which I think is useful to see, and also your gross profit margin. And then finally moving down onto the bottom, it does give you that snapshot of your what we call debtors and creditors days, which is ultimately the time it takes for you to get paid versus the time it takes for you to pay your suppliers. And naturally, what we do want to make sure is that we're not paying suppliers quicker than what we are receiving money in, because obviously that could ultimately lead to cash flow problems. So quite a useful snapshot. And then finally, just navigating into here, what we do have also is a short-term cash flow prediction, which you can set to be any bank account. It may be one bank account. So say, for example, you have a savings account that you want to make sure you want to keep that money set aside. You don't want that to form part of your predictions, so you can exclude that, or you may want to include that. So you can include as many or as little as you like. And if you just navigate down in here, what you are now seeing is your predicted cash flow for a 30-day period. You can have 30 days or 7 days. So for a 30-day period, which is based on the due dates of invoices that are due to come in and the due dates for payments, overridden by any expected date. So when I entered that expected date before, because I knew my customer wasn't going to pay on the due date, that is then taken into account in here. So you can actually see, first of all, like I said, the summary of the cash, the predicted cash. And you can also then see at a glance invoices that are due, invoices that you need to pay. And you can have a direct link into those items as well. And like I say, you can actually then we then actually have suggested actions, i.e. to collect any overdue invoices and just to pay those as well. So it's quite a useful snapshot. So within Xero, we have a dashboard, business snapshots and short-term cash flow to help us manage our business. We have the ease of raising invoices and quotes, if indeed you do that, but you can actually email directly through to your customers with links to be able to ascertain or to be able to quickly see if your customers have made the payments. And we can also actually activate our online reminders, our automatic reminders, to actually then see, to actually continuously be chasing for any outstanding invoices. And then in terms of the bills, we have the ability to actually enter bills quickly using the file library. Like I say, purchase invoice automation in any cases is my preferred route, but you do have that option to rate into those bills, to store those bills in one place, and to use your mobile app as well. And then finally, in relation to the bank feeds, in relation to the bank section, we have direct bank feeds that are in place that will actually enable us to quickly keep on, or to easily keep on top of that reconciliation process in a very simple manner, a very quick and easy manner. And in terms of added features, like I say, we do have projects and payroll that we can actually activate within here. And finally, just actually noticing down here, we do also have a fixed asset module within Xero where we can actually keep track of our fixed assets and automatically post our depreciation on a monthly basis. And the reason that we do like to keep on top of things monthly, the reason that we do like the ease of information, inputting information, this applies to any cloud accounting software. The reason that we do like that is because we do need to have that information flowing in real time in an ongoing basis to really make the most of these dashboards, business dashboards that we actually have. So the dashboards will only ever be as good, obviously, as the information that's actually included in there. Okay, so I'm now just going to navigate over into Sage Business Cloud Accounting. There we go. So hopefully you should see that Sage Business Cloud Accounting on the screen now. And again, I'm using demo data that's supplied to us by Sage. And first of all, when we actually do enter Sage Business Cloud Accounting, you will see that it does look a little bit different, just in terms of, I suppose, in terms of how it looks really. Sage, like I mentioned in the history before, Sage is very much built from an accountant's perspective, albeit the features that both products have are very, very similar. So just a little bit about Sage. When the cloud accounting products, QuickBooks Xero, did actually come onto the market, certainly came over into the UK, Sage then actually developed quite quickly their Sage Accounting, or Sage 1 at the time it was called, product onto the market. And what's happened since? So that was released quite quickly, and in the time since it was actually released, has actually then continued to develop itself as well. So in terms of features, they are certainly comparable. So the first thing that we do enter when we enter Sage Accounting or Sage Business Cloud Accounting is your summary data. And what we actually do have, if I just navigate or using the tabs here, you can actually see your sales snapshot, which tells us how many invoices that we've got outstanding and overdue, how many quotes that we have issued and outstanding versus won and lost, so like we saw on the Xero side. And we also can actually see which are our top debtors, or should I say our main culprits. And also, if we had actually been creating invoices, we can also see our customers too, our top customers. And the same very much applies on the purchases side, where we can see, first of all, a summary of our outstanding purchase invoices, our top creditors, and again, for any, like I'm using demo data here, so for any items that have actually been created, we can actually then see our top suppliers. And navigating over in the same way that you saw on Xero, we do actually then have our cash flow summary report. So it works on the same basis that as to what we have seen in Xero, where it will plot our cash flow based on the due dates that we have entered for our sales invoices and purchase invoices. So have the historic summary, and then moving on, we have that cash flow summary that I've just mentioned there. Okay, so both tools are actually giving us that ability to look at our predictive cash and that same snapshot information in terms of our customers and our suppliers. And again, if I now navigate over to the sales option, What we can see here is we do also have the ability to raise not only quotes but also estimates as well, which is a matter ultimately of terminology and also a matter of terminology first and foremost. So we do have that ability to raise sales quotes. And if I just select that here, what we can see is we can select our customer. We also again have the ability to enter the product and service, which will actually then pre-populate our narrative for us. And we also have the account code, which of course we can then tailor to suit. And we also do have the standard VAT rates as well, which we can actually then, and like I said, on similar to the Xero side, we do have those domestic reverse charge rates that are also available in here as well. So we have the ability to actually type in any additional notes or terms and conditions here, but of course those will actually also come through from the template that's being set up in the background. And I also again do have the option to attach any supporting documents that I might want to attach in here too. And of course what I can do is I can actually email that directly to the customer. So I'm just going to email that to myself. And I do have the option to either send me a copy and of course to include that PDF attachment too. And the templates that we actually do have here, I can directly change this within here if I wanted to add an additional note on, or like I said previously, when we actually looked at Xero, we can actually set the template up to suit your language and your branding. So you can actually see in here now that this quote has actually now been issued to the client. And as we saw on the other side, I can navigate directly into that. I have some additional options in here. Ooh. Press that a little bit too prematurely. Let me just go back into that. So you can actually see here that we actually also do have options to print a delivery note should you want one. We can also actually share links to invoices as well, which we can do in both softwares. If I press the print preview, again, you can actually see what that invoice looks like. And again, this can be tailored to suit. And your logo can actually be put onto there as well. And what I can then do is I do actually have the option to either decline that quote if the client hadn't actually accepted that. And also I can actually quickly, like we saw on the other side, create an invoice directly from that quote as well. And indeed, if I, for example, do not use quotes, what I can then do is raise a sales invoice pretty much, raise a sales invoice directly pretty much in the same way. And that invoice, as we saw, can be sent again directly to the customer. Okay. We do also have, and this is a feature in both softwares, the ability to actually set up recurring invoices. So if you actually do issue the same invoices month on month, then those can be set up as recurring and set up to automatically email to the customer as well. So just moving on to the purchase side, you will see, so we do have different options. So we have the option, first of all, to enter the purchase invoices and attach, which is what I'm going to do for the purpose of the example. But what we can also do is use purchase invoice automation as well, which is what I ultimately recommend, as I said earlier. And also what you can do, which is I think a feature that's inherited from Sage 50, is also the option to actually, for quick entries as well. So quick entries are if you actually wanted to create a batch of invoices and enter them ultimately all in one go. It's probably not a feature that is commonly used in cloud accounting software, albeit, like I said, this is actually inherited from Sage 50 legacy. So you do actually have that option to enter quick entries. Like I said, the main purpose really, or the main aim that we're trying to get to, is access to real-time data. So batch entries or quick entries don't necessarily always suit with that really. Okay, so if I just come back into my purchase invoices, just to quickly show you what options I do have in here. If I press new invoice, and I can select my supplier. I can use the drop down or I can enter the details. I'm just going to change that to rent. Pop the amount in. And what I can do here is I do actually also then have the option to upload files. So I may choose here to upload files directly from either a Dropbox or directly from my email. I can drop and drag them directly into here. So I don't necessarily have that file library option that was in Xero, but what I do have is what I do have available to me is a Microsoft 365 integration instead. So I can upload files directly into there. And I can then actually save that. Yeah. So my purchase invoice has now been entered. I do also have the option to enter purchase credit notes as well. What you will see is actually not available in here is that option to raise purchase orders if indeed you do actually need those. So highlighting that, because the purpose of this is to actually highlight the key differences between the two. So I do still also have the option to set up my products and services, like I actually saw on the other side. And I do, if I just navigate over into my banking, I do actually also have the option to actually connect directly to my bank as well, using a direct bank feed. And we can also see here, like we saw on the Xero side, we can see that 68 transactions have been imported in here. So we have that hyperlink to actually then go directly into my bank account. So like I said, when we use the direct bank feed, all the bank transactions will actually be downloaded or uploaded into the accounting software on an ongoing basis. And what I can do in here is I have the option to match those, first of all, against a purchase invoice if I wanted to, or I can create a transaction. So I can decide where I want that to be coded to, and I can transfer that money as well. I also have the option to split that payment. So if actually one payment might relate to different things, I have the option to split that as well. And also what I do have is the option to set up direct bank rules too. So you can see in here that certain information was already pre-populated. So again, that information can come through directly from a bank rule, and it can also come through from any information that's being entered as well. So we can directly enter that information into. And once that's been done, once that information has been filled in, we can actually then create that transaction. And once we've created that transaction, we can then actually continue to reconcile the bank in the normal way. There we are. So you can see that transaction is now being reconciled. Okay, so finally, just to touch on the reporting, and the same reporting does exist within both softwares as well. We do have the ability to directly create and submit our VAT returns from within here too. And also we can have access to the standard reports that you expect to see, such as a trial balance, such as a profit and loss account. So you can actually see we do have a whole suite of information that's available to us. Okay, so like I say, in terms of Sage Business Cloud Accounting, we have, first of all, access to business snapshot information in terms of sales and purchases. We have access to predicted cash flow, which is information that business owners need to actually help manage their business. And also what we can do is we can quickly raise quotes and estimates. If indeed we do need to use those, we can quickly raise and issue sales invoices by direct email. And we also do have the ability to enter purchase invoices to which we can attach any transactions as well. And the reason we do that is because we can actually then start to have all information quickly, easily accessible within one place. In both cases, we can set up contact defaults as well, and we're also able to set up predefined lists of products and services, so we can actually to actually speed up the process of raising more so invoices. And in both cases, we do have direct bank feeds that are available to us in order to actually connect to our bank to import information on a live basis. And we also do have the options to reconcile, to actually reconcile those again on an ongoing basis. Okay. So moving on then to which product is best. You will have noticed, as we've been actually talking through, that there are some quite subtle differences. Whilst they actually do the same, whilst they do still have the same features to raise sales invoices, send those out to customers, they do have the same ability to obviously enter your purchase information, connect to banks, and actually then to actually match bank transactions and to create bank rules as well. They do have those same features. There are still some very subtle differences between the two. And some of those you will have noticed as I've been talking through. So if I just actually look to highlight what some of those subtle differences were, first of all, we actually saw in Xero that we had the ability to actually turn on automatic invoice reminders. One slight difference that's available in Xero, but not necessarily in Sage Business Cloud Accounting. But indeed, what we did see in Sage Business Cloud Accounting is probably a little bit more business insight in terms of the summary in relation to the top customers and the top suppliers. So, like I say, a subtle difference there. What we actually do have within Sage Business Cloud Accounting is the ability to use estimates as well as quotes. Whereas what we actually do have in Xero is an extra added ability to actually raise purchase orders. And also what we do have in Xero is the ability to actually use a fixed asset register, which we don't necessarily have in Sage Business Cloud Accounting. But then what we do have is the ability to actually post quick entries into Sage Business Cloud Accounting, which we don't necessarily have on the Xero side. What we do have available to us on the Xero side is the ability to manage projects. And we also have the added file library capability as well. But what we do have in both cases when we're actually coming to enter purchase information, the ability to connect up to Dex Prepare, like I mentioned about purchase invoice automation. So when it comes down then to deciding, like I said, those are some of the key differences. When it actually comes down to deciding the right software for you, it pretty much comes down to understanding how your business works and what business type that you have. So for example, if you have a lot of fixed assets and you need to keep on top of your fixed assets, then really you may need to actually then choose Xero to have access to that fixed asset module, for example. And if you use purchase orders, for example, you might then need to, you might want to consider Xero as opposed to Sage Business Cloud Accounting. But if you don't necessarily need access to that fixed asset register, then, like I say, both products would ultimately provide you with the same information. And if I'm honest, it would come down to how you feel about the user experience of both products as well. Now, just referred there to mentioning, I've just referred there to doing an assessment of each business. And of course, what I have not sort of yet mentioned is indeed the app marketplaces. So these products are both basic cloud accounting software packages. So they will do obviously everything in relation to the accounting. And of course, sometimes businesses have wider systems that they need to, wider pieces of software that they use in their business. So for example, us as accountants, we use practice management software that raises our sales invoices. So if we were actually looking for a piece of accounting software, then we would actually look for a piece of accounting software that would integrate with directly that accounting system to send my invoices through. We certainly don't want to be sending that. We certainly don't want to be entering those in twice. If I'm a business that has a quite complex job management sort of system, or I have a need for a complex job management system, then what I would want to do is integrate that job management system directly with my cloud accounting software. So if I was assessing changing cloud accounting software, I'd ultimately be looking at, first of all, what what integrations exist between Xero and my other business systems, or what integrations exist between Sage Business Cloud Accounting and my other systems. And if indeed I don't have any other systems in place, but I want to, so I want to have invoice approval, I want to have a CRM system, I want to have a complex job management system, then I would actually then look to the marketplace of each cloud accounting provider to actually see what integrations are directly available, and take that into consideration when I'm actually choosing which product is right for me. Now, both Xero and Sage Cloud Accounting have a marketplace, have an app marketplace available that does cover a wide range of business-related apps and systems. The main difference is that Xero's app marketplace is by far bigger. That's something that they focus quite heavily on, but Sage Cloud Accounting does also have those integrations as well, and does have that marketplace. So it is actually capable of integrating, like I say, with other business systems. So, like I said, we have some key comparisons. So just to summarise, we have some key comparisons in terms of the software itself, which, like I said earlier, are only very subtle. We have fixed asset modules and purchase ordering modules and the file library that's available in Xero. And within Sage Business Cloud Accounting, we have the ability to do quick entries. We have a little bit more information in terms of top suppliers and customers. And we also have the ability to do quotes and estimates too. The ability to do estimates, I should say. Of course, we can do quotes on the other side. So some very subtle differences. The real crux of choosing the right package does actually depend on any other what you want to get out of the system. So like I say, if you then do have any other systems that you know that you need to integrate with your cloud accounting package, or you want to integrate with your cloud accounting package to really streamline what you're doing, then what we do recommend is actually an assessment, looking at what you're doing, looking at how you operate, looking at how you can do things, how you should be doing things in some cases, looking at where digital tools might help you, and then seeing between the two packages ultimately which one ticks most of those boxes. Okay, so if you do have any questions, like I said, do pop them into the Q&A option. I am just going to bring us to a close. I have kept you for a little bit longer than what I first anticipated. I do apologise for that. I am definitely a talker. Like I said, the main purpose of today was to really give you a brief snapshot of what Xero looks like and what it's capable of, what Sage Business Cloud Accounting looks like, and indeed what that is capable of, and highlighting, I suppose, the key differences, albeit those that are quite subtle, between the two packages, and really just what we need, and really what we need to think about in terms of, actually choosing the right one, which would be ultimately to assess, each business, separately in terms of what the business processes are. So I hope that you did find that interesting. If you do want any more information, then I'm more than happy for you to contact me directly. And my email address and telephone numbers are actually shown at the bottom of the screen here. And also, we do actually circulate software tips through our iNews, and also other information in terms of what can be achieved in the app marketplace. So do look out for those. We do issue those on a weekly basis. Like I say, in terms of software tips, apps of the month, and like I say, what can be achieved, and also what service we provide in terms of helping businesses select the right accounting software, and also indeed get that set up and deliver training. And we do also share that information on social media, so do look out for those. And of course, your relationship manager is always happy to help as well. Okay, so I think that is pretty much it from me. It's been lovely speaking to you. I hope you'll have a lovely day, and thank you very much for joining me today. And I will see you soon.